Welcome to Conversations with Zaki Baruti, your host Zaki Baruti, and we're in for another great evening of conversation with people who make an impact in our community. But before I introduce our guests for tonight's program, I'd like to, first of all, like always, give a shout out to my biological family, my UAPO family, as well as the New Life Evangelistic family headed by Reverend Rice. Continue the great work in terms of providing a shelter for our people, as well as for the people behind the mics. What's up? Go and now everybody who's tuned in, go and tell a friend, a family member that Conversations with Zaki Baruti is on. So to that end, I want to welcome into the studio with me again a great friend and a person who is a history maker and wanting to make a difference in our community. The new sheriff in town. Two consecutive Saturday nights in a row. Welcome again.
Thank you, Zaki.
In our last conversation last week, you know, we covered a whole lot of ground, but we didn't get to everything to the depth that I would like to in terms of your mission to make a difference in our community. First of all, again, I want to extend a congratulations to you for being the newly elected sheriff of the city of St. Louis.
Thank you so much, Zaki.
Which I just want to make sure that the public know that your position is one of 11 citywide elected positions in the city of St. Louis.
That's correct.
Okay. So you're one of those 11 that ideally want to make a difference. Am I correct? Okay.
You are correct.
So to that end, so that our audience would know the kind of responsibilities that you have now assumed, would you lay out your responsibilities and the staff that you are responsible for?
Sure, Zaki. Well, first of all, thank you so much for allowing me to be on the program. It's always good to see you. You are a good friend. As the new sheriff, city of St. Louis, I have about 164 deputies that work for me, and we serve the citizens of St. Louis by doing several things. One, our major responsibility is to protect all the citizens that come into the civil court and or the Cornahan building. So anybody that uses the 22nd Judicial District of the state of Missouri, it's our responsibility to make sure that you have a safe, when you come down to the courts, you have a safe experience. We protect the judges, we protect the attorneys, we protect the citizens, and even those inmates that have to use that system. Then also, it's our responsibility serve papers, any judicial papers that the judges might initiate. It's our responsibility to serve papers. We transport.
What kind of papers when you say serve papers? What do you
there might be eviction notices. There might be some kind of child support notice. There might be some kind of notice whereby order of protection. Those are all papers that we would serve as the sheriff's department. I was about to say we transport prisoners, protect the courts. We sell the delinquent property that you sometimes, lots that you see around the city, those lots that are tax delinquent, we sell those properties to the citizens. So there are several things that we do as a sheriff department in the city of St. Louis. And so it's my responsibility as the chief sheriff or the sheriff city of St. Louis to make sure that all that goes well.
Now, a couple of those responsibilities I want to just touch a little bit, just for my understanding as well as for the understanding of our listening audience. When you say you sell delinquent properties, how often does that occur, and is that a huge volume that takes place in St. Louis? Yeah,
I'm sure most people have seen when they look in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, sometimes they'll see a list of properties where the taxes haven't been paid. And so after so many years, that property becomes what we call delinquent. And then it's the responsibility of the sheriff department to sell those properties to whoever would come down and would want to buy them. So that those properties appear in the newspaper. You get a chance to look at that address, you go look at that property, and if it's something that you would like to buy, then you come down and you submit your bid. And that's all done by the St. Louis Sheriff Department. And a lot of people don't realize that that's one of the things that we do.
Okay then, yes, because we want to make sure that our citizens are very informed in terms of the responsibilities of of each office. Now, one of the responsibilities that you do and have shared is that you're there to protect not only the public but the judges
Right.
that works out of the court. In fact, where is the court located?
We're talking about the Civil Court building, and that's 10 North Tucker, right on the corner of Tucker and Market Street, and then right across the street at 1114 Market Street is the Cornahan building. So the two tall buildings right there at Tucker and Market, and that's where we hold court in both of those buildings. There's a total of about 31 judges, and usually got about 15 in one building and maybe 16 in the other.
Okay, so it's about 31 judges, just out of question in terms of representation of black people, part of the judges. Of that number, approximately how many are black?
Well, I'm not sure, but I think you have about a third of those judges are black.
A third. In a city where it's supposed to be 50, 60, 70% black. So in the essence, though, that's not fair representation. I guess I'm making that statement that like it should be reflective of the population. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Okay, then.
I would.
Okay, then. So within that context, I know you're dealing with having assumed the responsibility of sheriffs. I understand that you have some, what I will use as the word roadblocks for you to being a very effective sheriff. Mm-hmm. Share with our, on the flip side, we'll come back and share with our public as it relates to those roadblocks.
Okay.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti, and in studio with me is my good friend and the new sheriff in town, and brother Vernon Betts. Again, Vernon, how long have you been sheriff?
I've been the sheriff of the city of St. Louis, Zaki, about 75 days now. 75
days. So you within your first 100 days as the new administration for the presidency of the United States they talk about. Okay,
right,
then.
Exactly.
So you got 25 more days to say what you have done in those first 100 days. Okay,
you're certainly right.
And on the other side of the break, we were getting ready to enter into some of the roadblocks to your first 100 days. But before we do that, one other thing I wanted the people to know clearly: how many people do you have that you are responsible for as sheriff?
I have about 164 deputies at this time. We really, in order to operate about 164.
Okay.
To operate as efficiently as I would like to see us operate, we need about 180 deputies.
Okay.
Right now we're working shorthanded, and anytime you're working in a position like sheriff's deputies, then you're working at the risk. There's a safety risk for our citizens when you only have one or two deputies in a courtroom, and you may have a criminal in the courtroom. So we're working shorthanded, and it's at the risk of providing the safety for our citizens like we should.
Now, going into, and I wanted to get to those roadblocks, but going into, on having been elected sheriff, I'm sure you had some set goals that you wanted to accomplish as the sheriff, and then let's get into those, as well as what has prevented you from achieving them.
Well, one of the things, first and foremost, in having talked with the judges, I wanted to come in and make both court buildings a safer place to work. Because of budget restraints, I've not been able to do that. We'll be talking more about those budget restraints. I wanted to go in, and most of those deputies don't make what I would consider a livable wage. And I really wanted to go in. I campaigned on that issue that I would go in and increase the pay for those deputies, not trying to make them rich, but to try to get them to a point where they're making just an equitable, livable wage. Right now, a sheriff deputy starts off at about $28,000 a year. That's not enough money. Yeah, that's not enough. Yeah, so we want to work on that. And then thirdly, I wanted to go in, and every system just about is antiquated. Every facet of the department needs to be overhauled. We need to bring in new technology, so that we could be a more modern an up-to-date sheriff department. Those things I know need to take place. When I was there as a deputy in 2008 to 2011, I saw how terrible the place was being ran, and I knew that these were things that once I got in there, I would need to fix, change, make better.
So on your road to 100 days, first 100 days, how would you grade what you have been able to accomplish up to now?
Well, Zaki, unfortunately, I've not been able to accomplish very much of anything. I've had, as we've said earlier, I've had several roadblocks, and the biggest one is that I'm not able to hire the people that I need to hire, my executive staff, so that I could start to move forward and implement those ideas and things that I want to do. The judges of the 22nd Judicial District have decided that they want to control the sheriff department, and so they have an initiative taking place right now. They have a bill that's being presented in Jeff City. It's Senate Bill 484, and it would give them the authority to appoint the sheriff. And so right now, that's what they want to do. They want to control the sheriff department. So I've not been able to hire but one person, and that's Mr. Steve Roberts, since I've been in office these 75 days.
Wait a minute now. For years, if my, going back.
Yes, sir.
That, from my understanding, that the sheriff had the opportunity to hire everybody that he wanted to. So are you telling me then they have changed the rules, or they attempting to change the rules in the middle of the game?
Zaki, this is what they did. There's a statute. It's statute 57.530. It was enacted in 1979, and it says that the sheriff of the city of St. Louis shall, with the approval of the judges, appoint or hire as many people as he deemed necessary. Now that statute was enacted in 1979, but the judges never moved on that statute. They let my predecessor, the sheriff before me, come in and hire anybody and everybody without interference from them. He hired whoever he wanted to, and now all of a sudden Vernon Betts is there, and they want to invoke the authority and tell me who I can hire and who I can't.
Well, obviously, then there's two things that we can deduct from that position. Either they look at you as being incompetent.
Yes.
Or there's another reason.
Well, maybe the color of my skin.
The color of your skin. You are listening to Conversations with Zaki as we look at the critical issues that's facing people. Now, you made mention of this SB 484. Now, who's the sponsor of that particular bill?
Well, the sponsor of that bill, 484, is a senator from West County.
A senator from West County, not in the St. Louis
area.
No,
not from the city of St. Louis. I don't think this gentleman knows anything about what's going on downtown in our courts. But they went out and got a senator from West County to present this bill in Jeff City. And so that's being presented as we speak. It'll go to the floor sometime or into committee. And so it allows them to then appoint the sheriff, taking the power from the people. It gives them the authority to appoint the sheriff rather than the people of the city of St. Louis elect their sheriff.
Well, then all of the citizens ought to be alarmed about that, especially when this country projects that democracy is the way to go, not just here in this country, but throughout the world. On the flip side of our conversation, we'll get into another bill that needs to be discussed.
Okay.
Welcome back with Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is my good friend and new sheriff in town, Vernon Betts. We were just discussing on the flip side of the break about Senate Bill 484 and the initiative to try to take away the people of St. Louis' right to elect a sheriff. But what are you doing to counter that kind of move? As I'm sure you're outraged like I'm outraged.
Right. Well, Zaki, we have State Representative Shamed Dugan. He has presented a bill in Jefferson.
And he's from where?
He's from Baldwin.
Okay.
And he has presented a bill for us. It's House Bill 878, and that House bill will take the authority from the sheriff, from the judges. They'll take the authority from the judges and allow me to hire as I see fit. So.
Okay then. So with that said, so we got two really competing bills.
Yes.
One to take really power away from you and the citizens of the city of St. Louis by allowing a judicial group that's not reflective of the city.
Exactly.
To appoint the sheriff. Right. And then we have the House bill that you're supporting.
878.
878, House Bill 878, that takes away the power of the judges.
Right.
To
interfere with me being able to hire the people that I know I need, that I know I can trust to help me implement those ideas and things that we know are going to make the sheriff department a better place. I worked for the sheriff department for 3 years, Zaki. I know I can manage. I have expertise. I'm certified by the United States Postal Service as an executive mail center manager. I'll take those same skills that I acquired as a supervisor at Ameren, my skills as a St. Louis public school teacher, and I can manage that department to the satisfaction of those almost 100,000 citizens that elected me to run that department.
Wow, so that's some real deep issues that's involved in what's taking place in the sheriff's office. How can people who are listening, all fair-minded people who want to say they want to help maintain, the position being elected by the citizens, how can they help?
Well, they can really help me, and I'm asking the citizens of St. Louis to support me as they did when they elected me. They need to contact their state representative and their senator, and let their senator know that they do not agree with this House bill, Senate bill.
The Senate bill.
The Senate bill. They do not agree with the Senate bill 484, and they are in support of House Bill 878. And so if they
is there a contact number?
There is a contact number. You can also call 613.
Area code 314.
Area code 314-613-8072. And there's somebody there that will answer that phone and be able to give you more directions on what to do in order to help us with those, with eliminating one bill and passing the other.
So many times when our state lawmakers hear from people, or people go to lobby at Jeff City, or you plan on having any lobbying days to that end?
Yes, the bill 878 has already been in committee. It's been heard once. We think it's going to be heard one more time, and we believe it's going to pass and go to the floor. When that comes up, we're going to try to make it as public as possible, but I would like to get as many citizens that would go with me up to Jeff City. I mean, I'd like to pack the place so that they don't take that privilege from the citizens of St. Louis of electing their sheriff.
Absolutely. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up the issues.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki, and we're getting ready to close out the hour. We're here in studio. In studio with us is the sheriff, Vernon Betts. Again, why do you believe that the sheriffs have tried to block you at every turn?
The judges?
I mean the judges, I'm sorry.
The judges, because Zaki, I believe it's a power grab. They want the power to control everything going on in our court. They already have seized the authority to appoint the circuit clerk position.
Which the circuit clerk used to be an elected position in the city of St. Louis.
Right, that used to be.
And the judges have been able to move that from an elected position to an appointed position.
Right, they went up to Jeff City and had a bill passed before the citizens that could get wind of it. They had the bill passed, but this time they're not going to get away with passing this bill. Zaki, they're grabbing for power. It seems like the more power they get, the more they want. And you've heard that saying, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I really believe that there could be another issue. They just don't want this man and I guess you could interpret what I'm saying.
Well, I'm interpreting it for you because you got a little pigmentation,
right,
and that racism is still alive, and we have to fight it at every turn. But in fighting it, I hope that all goodwill people, both black, white, anybody who feel that there's that in what's taking place is an injustice against you, especially if you have struggled to become sheriff through the democratic process. Yes. That's just not right. So to that end, again, please let the people know how they can get in contact and get involved with trying to counter SB, Senate Bill 484, that is being pushed by the judges, that will take away the right for citizens of St. Louis to vote for the position of sheriff, as well as how can they help House Bill 878 that takes away the power from those judges to interfere in your office.
Again, Zaki,
we got 1 minute left.
What I really want them to do is contact their state representative and contact their senator. Write letters, call them on the phone, and then you can also call area code 314-613 8072. Somebody there will answer that phone and give you more information. And that's how they can really help me do what they've elected me to do.
And helping you, they help ourselves. And to that end, you have been listening to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. Again, we want to encourage you to get involved for justice to prevail in the issue surrounding the Sheriff Department. Want to also encourage you to let people know about the program. And again, to all of the citizens of St. Louis, may God bless each and every one of you.